Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started. The Southeast Mental Health Technology Transfer Center would like to welcome you to today's webinar event. My name is Emily Moore, and I'm going to be moderating today's event, which is a presentation on faith, spirituality, and peer support presented by Dr. Monty Burks. Before we get started, there are a few things that I'd like to go over. First of all, please note that the work of our center is supported by a grant from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA. And also please note that our center, as well as the larger MHTTC network, use affirming, respectful, and recovery-oriented language in all of our activities. The Southeast Mental Health Technology Transfer Center is proud to serve the 8 states in HHS Region 4. Our expertise in public health programs, systems, research, and evaluation provides a unique lens through which we can address mental health priorities. We encourage you to visit our website, mhttcnetwork.org/southeast, to learn more about our center and upcoming events. A few important notes to review before today's event. This event is being recorded and will be made available on our website for on-demand viewing in a few days. We encourage you to share your comments throughout the presentation using the chat feature, but please remember to select chat with all attendees if you would like to share your thoughts with everyone. We've also allotted time at the end of our presentation to answer some questions. So please submit your question using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Finally, for participants who are interested, a certificate of attendance is available for download upon completion of our evaluation surveys. I am very pleased to introduce today's presenter. Monty Burks serves as the Director of Faith-Based Initiatives for the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, where his role is engaging and connecting Tennessee's faith communities to the behavioral healthcare system, with the goal of expanding addiction and mental health support services across the state. He also oversees the Tennessee Lifeline Peer Project, a state program aimed at reducing the stigma associated with people who suffer from addiction, and the Tennessee Faith-Based Community Coordinators, who seek to help congregations build their capacity to combat addiction and mental health issues in their respective communities. Burks earned his master's degree in criminal justice from Middle Tennessee State University, his doctorate in theology from Heritage, and wears the honorable badge of Certified Peer Recovery Specialist. Burks has more than 22 years experience working with the criminal justice system in various roles, including adjunct criminal justice professor at Motlow State Community College, criminal justice student research analyst at Middle Tennessee State University, and criminal justice program coordinator and adjunct professor at Tennessee State University. Welcome, Dr. Monty Burks. We are so pleased to have you. I am going to go ahead and turn it over to you for your presentation.
Well, hello, good morning. So good to see everyone, or to hear everyone. I see people that are dropping in the chat box, and some people have even shot me a couple of text messages. My name is Monty Burks. I'm the Director of Faith-Based Initiative. As my esteemed colleague, Ms. Moore, just told you guys, I just found out maybe 8-9 minutes ago that Emily and myself are both jiu-jitsu practitioners. So that added like a whole new dynamic to our new relationship. So I'm excited to have her on my team. And also, if anybody that wants to get into the martial arts space, it is a really good opportunity to address mental health from a completely different perspective. Anytime you can connect and attach to an outside or an ancillary community, it's all about wellness. I think people should dig into that. These are my thoughts. I shared my thoughts are my thoughts. However, I've been a martial artist my whole adult life. It's been really good for me. It's also helped me dive in with other people. So really quick, I'm going to go and start my presentation. Let's have fun. Drop questions in the comment section, and I promise I'll try to get to them. If I don't, you can email me and I will answer whatever questions you have. So can somebody give me a thumbs up to make sure we can see my slides?
Yes, we can see them.
Okay, thank you. So today we're going to talk about faith, spirituality, and stuff around peer support. I'm going to take the role today of the facilitator, but I'm also going to go deeply into the peers' role in interacting with people, especially people that are a little bit different than they are, people that may worship a little different than they are. So we're going to really focus on the peers' dynamic role in this space. So here's my awesome picture, and this is my contact information. This is the first time I've done a webinar for MHTTC. I'm going to keep this picture here for a while. I often make a joke about myself as my hair turned gray during COVID. This was the last picture that I didn't have full gray hair. So I'm going to savor this moment until somebody makes me change it. I currently sit as a co-chair of the Tennessee Supreme Court's Access to Justice Commission. I sit on the International RX Drug Abuse and Heroin Summit Board, and I'm the Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America, CADCOM, one of their advisory members. So group rules today, really quick, just to put some rules out there for everyone, just in case you have a comment or a question or somebody else has a question. Please no crosstalk in the comments. Respectfully, let's have fun. However, sometimes we might not agree on a statement we make in the comment section. I don't care what you write. I respect your value and your opinions, but let's not crosstalk with each other, argue with each other, so we can respect each other's traditions. We can be respectful of other people's questions. Absolutely. I believe that just most people on here are professionals in their own right. Today, let me be helpful in trying to answer the questions the best way I can. Understand that we are not here to preach, and respect time. When I say respect time, I always respect your time and ask you to respect mine. Let's work together to find commonality and where we connect, so we can have some culturally competent conversations and then create easier ways to deliver services. So first things first, I've got close to 100 people on this meeting, and I need the 100 people to pull out a pen and piece of paper and write down your 4 favorite songs, and I want you to keep them handy. Now I'll give you 30 seconds. Your 4 favorite songs, no matter what I don't care what your favorite songs are. I listen to gospel music, I listen to rap music, I just started listening to country music, and I really like monster 80s love ballads. So all of these things are important to me, because this is sometimes how my de-escalation, decompressing, sometimes it comes through music. There are different modalities for that, but for this is just a mental health coaching space, is to get your 4 songs written down, whatever they are. I'm excited to know what some of your songs are. Maybe I'm not so excited to know what some of your songs are, but it's all good because it's your stuff. So my role today is to navigate the sensitivity of faith, spirituality, and peer support. Also, to help understand how stigma associated with faith and spirituality can cause people not to ask for help when they need it, and to help us recognize how important effective communication is for service delivery. I say this, and I say this often. Communicating with people or non-communicating with people could be the biggest barrier for someone to seek peer services around substance use disorder and or mental health concern. Sometimes we have 2 entirely different communities that just don't have the institutional connectedness, the jargon, to talk. So that's kind of the role that our peers play. We can navigate in those uncomfortable spaces and translate 2 communities to get to each other. Now, a lot of you, I see your names on here, and I've worked with you in different spaces, that you can go into a criminal justice space and navigate criminal justice resources better than someone who is elected in that place and a judge, and also better than someone who has a community program, because you've been through the programs, you have the lived experience. Your resume is powerful with experience, and that's the experience we need to be that intermediary, to work on reentry, to work on criminal justice, to work on addiction, to work on understanding mental health. So the slides that I use and the pictures that I use are people that I work with across the country. A few slides, not, but most of these people are people that I've worked with in the recovery space. So what we're going to do is talk about how we love people in pain back to life. That's a powerful concept. Love people in pain back to life. We have so many different things that happen to all of us. The only word I can use to catch all of is stuff. And sometimes the stuff doesn't fit in a textbook. The stuff doesn't fit in an assessment. Sometimes the stuff is only stuff that a peer might be able to hear from another peer. Being comfortable enough to talk to somebody for a split second might be all that it takes for that person to live to the next day. That's why it's important, as we as peers know that our role could be to love someone in pain back to life. You can use the word love. You can use any word interchangeably, but our goal is support beams, support mechanisms, finding things that sometimes people don't know how to get to them, that they don't know exist. We want to give people the opportunity to tell their story, to raise a family, an opportunity to be, an opportunity to believe, and an opportunity to become. Those last few bullets that I mentioned were a person that works in my office, our faith-based initiatives, Jamie Harper. He says this often in communities. He's got a deep educational background in mental health services. And one of the things that he noticed in his journey across different systems was the disconnects were sometimes not real disconnects. They were just opportunities for people to sit down and talk. And that's where people belong. They believe and they can become something greater. So what is stigma? Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir right now, but I'm going to say it anyway, just so we can get on the same page. Stigma is defined in the dictionary as a mark of disgrace or infamy. So the word stigma isn't something positive, and it's not meant to be positive. People utilize or maybe victim of some form of stigma that might have caused them not to reach out to you as a professional for help. When I say professional, I'm not speaking to everyone. I'm not aiming at any group of people. I respect everyone, whether you have a GED or a PhD. You are a peer, you are valuable, and we need you. Both of those are two completely different types of education. But a person with lived experience who might not have been to school, might not have been on a collegiate level for school, still has a lot of value when we start talking about community connection, because the things that they can hear and the things they see. The stigma of addiction and mental health stems from behavioral symptoms. People see the behavior and they're like, oh, they're at it again. I don't want to help them because I watched my favorite TV show last night and my favorite TV show told me that person wasn't my friend. Incarceration, job loss, family loss, depression, anxiety, all of these things are part of that stigma, those symptoms that we see. Sometimes it takes a situational adjustment to be able to move out from the disease of addiction, or to find out what the lack of resources may be with someone. So 3 types of stigma. Public stigma involves the negative or discriminatory attitudes that others have about illness. There are a lot of people that don't know the difference between mental health and mental illness. There are a lot of people in the community that need information. They need our peers to get out and start having some of these uncomfortable conversations and helping them understand that that's 2 different things that may intersect, but they may not. These are opportunities for us to grow. Self-stigma refers to the negative attitudes, including internalized shame that people with mental illness have about their condition, their own condition. And then institutional stigma is more systemic, involving policies that intentionally or unintentionally limit opportunities for people. Understand how stigma works. Stigma, to me, is an opportunity for you as a peer to have this conversation, is to move away from sympathetic to empathetic and walk in other people's shoes. And it gives you an opportunity to see where they sit and maybe what they don't see, or how they see what you're trying to help them see. I remember as a child, when it rained outside, I didn't want to go out to do anything. As an adult, I know that you can pick up an umbrella as big as you want it and as heavy as you want it, except for the windstorms we had earlier this week. But you can pick up an umbrella and you can walk right out in the rain and do just about all you need to do without getting wet or just getting a little wet. But this happened through years of experience with people with umbrellas that taught these things to me. So stigma is a trigger. What triggers stigma? Well, sometimes language triggers stigma. Person first language, or PFL, is a type of language approach which puts a person before a diagnosis, describing what a person has rather than asserting what a person is. It is intended to marginalize or dehumanize, consciously or subconsciously. How we look at people is how we treat people. So if we're working in a faith-based space, we're working in a nonprofit space, we're trying to connect the dots with people, but we still use words that push people away, or even some of the programs still use antiquated terms that are not friendly to people that are just looking for help, whatever that help may be. I'm going to say this again, is how we look at someone is how we treat someone. That's why language is important. You can tell yourself what something is, and after a while, you'll believe yourself. That's why we have to expand all of the information. The intake can create a positive output if we get some good intake, some good income inside of our mind and our thoughts and the work that we do. Language is the #1 way. Language is a storehouse of culture, life ways, and knowledge. You can learn how to talk to somebody and connect with them. Language has the ability to change the culture of a community. I can be honest and say that the recovery movement has taken the words associated with addiction and turned all of those words around to make something positive out of it. The mental health community has taken all of these terms that were meant to be derogatory, and we built peer-led initiatives full of people that had experienced stigma their whole life, and sometimes just because other people didn't understand the pain that they went through. So what is faith and what is hope, and how does all this connect? Faith is an interconnected term around that's kind of connected to spirituality and religion. Okay, 2 different things. That's another webinar that we're not doing right now, but spirituality and religion, it's good for you to know these topics. Although faith is not just believing necessarily in a higher power, faith fosters forgiveness. Faith gives you the opportunity to see the greater good, not only in yourself, but also in other people. One does not have to experience religion for faith to play a role in their recovery. I know a lot of people that attend congregational services, but they go to 12-step, they go to smart recovery meetings because they don't want to do a 12-step in a faith-based community. There's a bunch of different reasons. I don't care how you find your freedom or how you find your recovery, how you find your redemption, go find it. And maybe other peers can help you build something that sustains itself and can walk you through the rest of your days. Hope is that part of faith that focuses on the future. So hope in yourself, hope that in knowing that I'm going to be better at this, I'm going to be a better version of me. These are the things that I'm working on. But having hope is an absolutely wonderful and positive process. Hope is to cherish desire without anticipation. So sometimes I hope for things to happen. I know I've got to put some concrete under my feet to walk through to get to that final point. But the hope that I have in me comes from my own personal lived experience. I understand that no matter what my past says, I can go through and be something greater than I used to be. And I now at this point don't mind people reminding me of anything in my past, because everything that happened to me and everything that I've done to myself are things that I've used to connect with people and communities. My job as a peer is to show people as much love as I can and connect them to resources. I'm not a therapist and I'm not a counselor and I'm not a preacher. I'm not trying to do any of those things with anybody. But what I am going to do as a peer is share my lived experience and let people know, hey, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay. So hope has other meanings. So in the major different religious texts, hope is a feeling of expectation, desire for a certain thing to happen. In the Bible, the biblical hope is the confident expectation of what God has promised in his strength and faithfulness. In the Quran, the Quranic hope is that element in our lives that we need, that energizes us, that propels us forward so that we can achieve great things. And in Buddhism, hope is the one thing stronger than fear. Now, I don't know about y'all. Now, I use y'all and ain't a lot. I'm very Southern. I know this is coming out of Atlanta. I know Tennessee is above you, but we're still more country than you are. We can talk about that on our third webinar. But just know that all of this sounds like a lot of things that peers do. Whether you're a peer that has a faith-based background or not, some of the things that are covered in these different views are things that you do in your everyday walk. And it's awesome that you do that and continue to do that. And one of the things that's really important about peers, that to understand faith communities, non-faith communities, secular versus non-secular, our faith communities have a definitive impact they can have in the community. So you as a peer, whether you have a faith-based background or not, it's really good for you to know the beauty of the faith community in long-term access to services. Everybody can't get long-term treatment. Sometimes they can't afford it. Sometimes people don't want to go through a 28-day, 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, year-long program. However, we have houses of faith and institutions that exist across our country that have been here for hundreds of years. And if those communities get galvanized and start meetings, that means those meetings can cover a person's whole lifespan and even their family when they need that. Faith communities help shape the I am and the I can statements in ways that lead to lifelong recovery. Biology, psychology, and environment. Add spirituality to it, and we have an awesome opportunity to connect with people in completely different spaces. So what is spirituality? Okay, all right, we'll talk about spirituality now. Okay, how can we connect the dots? Well, think about every individual has and sees things different. They have different things and they see things different. We're all the sum of experiences that we've had. Some of those have not been positive. Some of those have been positive. So how we connect spiritually could be 110 different ways today. It doesn't mean any of us are wrong. What it means is we've connected spiritually. And if we're going to be peers, let's look at all the resources for other people that we may run into that have a desire to connect with spirituality, hope, belief, faith, tradition, all of those things. And then also have tools for people who decide not to go that route. Spirituality seeks a meaningful connection with something bigger than yourself. The broad concept of belief in something beyond the self. Traditionally, spirituality was referred to as a religious process of reformation, which aims to recover the original shape of a person. And basically what that boils down to, all of this, is finding oneself and connecting with something so we can walk through it. And I'm not familiar who is on here has went through what step studies, but in the very first few, there are opportunities for you to directly engage with what you consider your higher power, what your higher power is. And then you have to do a fearless and moral inventory of yourself to see if everything is clicking with you. And that's one of the hardest things that people go through, is when they have to see themselves and then they have all of these other resources that they don't understand. It's a good place for peers to be able to connect the dots with people. So the spirituality piece is an awesome opportunity for de-escalation personally. as well as de-escalating a conversation with someone that might have gotten uncomfortable. Spirituality and meditation is something that I use. I pray in the mornings when I wake up, I meditate, and then I go out and do my work. I have a large group of individuals that are from different religious backgrounds, different beliefs, different denominations. We all chat with each other about certain parts of our spirituality. At the end of the day, we all still serve people from completely different perspectives. And I love it because I'm not supposed to catch everybody. I can't serve everybody, but you can. The more people that engage with peer support models, you realize that you might have only done HVAC work your whole life, but your lived experience to get you to be the HVAC technician might be the story that somebody needs to hear. People need to know that they can overcome, they can move through, they can be more powerful than. Sometimes the words that we use can do that. So what does spirituality do? What's the connective method here? Spiritual practices can disarm fear and uncertainty by helping you be present and sustain hope. It includes active listening, finding hidden strengths, and valuing repetition and routine. Again, repetition and routine are opportunities for people to have a new playground, new playmates, build repetition so they won't go back to whoever fellowshipped and hurt them before. But you must remember, all of us, I very seldom speak in absolutes, but this is a have to, need to, must. This is a shoulda, coulda, woulda. We have to be very cognizant of the people that we serve as a peer when they talk to us, because we could be the first and only person they talk to before something that does not happen good for them, or that they're back out somewhere with the people that they're trying to be run from. It takes a lot of bravery to walk up to someone that you know works and can get you help, and to tell them that I'm tired and that I'm ready and I want help. That's bravery, because people are still afraid of the stigma associated with their behavioral health concerns. That means that people will say, hey, I think I suffered from mental illness in the past. Sometimes people would use, well-intended people will use derogatory language. Again, these are things that we're trying to overcome in this professional peer space that we're in. On this picture is Amy Bechtel. She's the faith-based coordinator of West Tennessee. Her and parts of our team have started a podcast where they talk about mental health and substance abuse issues in our entire West Tennessee Grand Division. They talk about this weekly to get people out there and to let people know on the other end of this microphone, on the other end of this podcast, is someone that has access to resources for you, your wife, your sister, your brother, your husband, your spouse, your partner, your children. There are people out there that can help, but we have to go extremely academic to learn the tools. And then you become the best peer possible when you have the toolage in one hand and your heart and your mind in the other one. So really quick, I want to talk with you through something. This is going to be our 2-minute music break. So you ask me, why am I going to have a music break? There's a reason for this. I want everybody, all 109, somebody signed off, whoever you were, I hope that you come back. If not, tell that person that we will get them the slides. Everybody take the song of your choice, one of the songs you pick, listen to that song and focus on you. Drop one word or phrase describing how you feel in the chat box. Just for an example, these are 4 of my favorite songs that I listen to. This totally crossed all kinds of music lines. I don't care if you don't like my music. I like my music. I hope you like my music, but if you don't, I'm sorry. Let me know what yours is. So really quick, people start listening to your song. You got 2 minutes. Start dropping comments in the comment section of the songs that you heard, or how the songs made you feel, what your music makes you feel like. I'm going to drop one in mine now. Please, you can even name the song if you want to. I am loving the words. Keep going. You got a minute and a half. Wow. One minute left. Keep going, guys. We got 110 people, 109 people. We want the 109 people to keep putting those words out there. Your words matter. Your feelings matter. Drop them in there. Keep doing it. 30 seconds left. Emily, I think we have a lot of comments that are going in this chat box. I think this is absolutely amazing. So let's chat. Continue to drop your information in the box, but I want to say something. I see alive. I see hope. I see all of these things that is amazing. Peace, love, hopeful. I even see some words that I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to butcher the words. However, I'm going to screenshot that yes, this is beautiful, serenity, forgiving. All of these things come from the mind of peers. When we are open, we can be open enough to have these conversations. Sometimes we need to do a camera check. Sometimes we need to do a step back. When we deliver services to people that could possibly have been through something awful, it's incumbent on us as peers to take the step back and listen to other people. Give them the opportunity to be confident, to be understood, to have peace, to have love, and to be accepted. This is what our role is. This is the quintessential space for our role, is to get out there and be the good guy. It's okay to be the good guy. We got enough bad guys as it is. It's okay to be the good guy. I am very, very happy that you all dropped. Please continue to drop your letters and your words, whatever you got, put it in there. I love the word confidence. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a person that's in long-term recovery from substance misuse, and I'm also a person that has dealt with mental health issues in my past. March 3rd, I celebrated 23 years free from all of the things that almost destroyed me and my family. And my story is not unique. It's my unique story, but it's so much like everybody else's that have been through similar circumstances. I found new people, new communities, new hobbies, and stayed connected. And that's been the most powerful part of my journey. And part of that is with people that are like you, other peers. I didn't know that I could tell my story, but I told it anyway. The reason I told my story and I connected with people because I wanted people to know the other side of the garbage that I had subjected myself to. What happened is my career now has been built on people that storytell, that tell their story. They tell their triumphs, they tell you their tragedies, they tell you all the things, but they want you to know that it's okay what you're going through. Let's try to figure out a way to get you some resources. So let's talk about peer support now. All right, we've got confidence, we've got power, and we're hopeful. Let's talk about our role as peers. Peer support encompasses a range of activities and interactions between people who share similar experiences of being diagnosed with mental health concerns, substance use disorders, or maybe even both. The whole thing about sharing similar experiences is just a way for people to connect long enough to be vulnerable. When vulnerability is an open place for someone, that's how we can help someone utilize the tools that might already be in their face, in their space, or where they are. Through shared understanding, respect, and mutual empowerment, peer support workers help each other become and stay engaged, and in the recovery process and reduce the likelihood of relapse. There are a lot of people that rely on peers, sponsors, counselors, therapists, all of these different levels of people that provide support. On the ground, we as peers usually get folks before they get to their therapist, to their doctor, or maybe even to the court system because they've gotten in trouble. So it's important for us to understand the spaces that we operate in, the ethical issues that are associated with that. And also, the number one thing is the other person coming to talk to you. It may be the most important and the most vulnerable thing that they've ever done in their whole life. So it's up to us to make it a comfortable conversation to chat with someone. So just an important note, as we do these chats as peers, it's important for us to understand a basic definition of how trauma affects other people. Just because it didn't happen to me doesn't mean that it didn't happen to you. I'll say that again. Just because it didn't happen to me doesn't mean that it didn't happen to you. I stay thoughtful and prayerful that when people interact with me in any form or any space, that I can try to give them the best I can be in that moment. If I can't, that's an opportunity for me to contact another peer or another person that may be better suited to provide or direct someone to a service or have service delivery. So trauma results from an event, a series of events, or a set of circumstances experienced by an individual that are physically, emotional, harmful, or life-threatening, and that have lasting adverse effects on their mental, physical, and social, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So just because we sat together in a car and the car was blindsided doesn't mean that we experienced it the same. Of course, the event itself is the same, but our experience could be completely different because of where we sit in the vehicle, how the impact hit me and didn't injure the person beside me, how the person beside me became way injured and I just got up and walked away. All of this has lasting adverse effects on the individual's functioning. That means that sometimes us as peers, it would be beneficial for us to understand trauma, trauma words, trauma triggers, all the things, so that when a person comes to us and talks to us, we don't use words that might put them in a bad space. We have uniquely learned body language that's not aggressive. Aggressive nonverbals are a way that you can push people away. And then sometimes break bread with people, drink a cup of coffee. I know I've been in many recovery spaces in my life, and without coffee, a lot of people would not get along in those spaces. But with coffee and water, there's opportunities for fellowship. So a little more about peer support. Our goal of peer support isn't to imprint our tradition on anyone. I'm going to say that again. Our role as a peer, our goal as a peer support, not trying to make somebody be us and not trying to make somebody take our path. There are people that will find multiple opportunities and pathways to find freedom from addiction, to find resiliency with a mental health issue that they're dealing with, to take medication for mental illness diagnosis. Any of these things are all different paths for people. So as a peer, because we know about all these things, right? We talked about it earlier. We don't know everything as a peer. We're going to know about all the resources, all the housing, all the food, all the things. But we have to remember that people are different. Their resources are different. Things in their life may have happened to them completely different than they happened to us. So our role and our goal is to not try to imprint anything from us on them, but rather collectively chat with a person and just see what's going on. Find the hidden strength. Talk about the hidden strength that a person has. Our faith is important as a part of us. I'm a man of faith. I work with a lot of Celebrate Recoveries. I work with a lot of programs that are in the religious space, the faith-based space, that are for addiction and mental health. I also work with communities and spaces that are very neutral on spirituality, religion, all the other things. I'm okay with that. The more resources that people have, the better it's going to be for people to find help when they need it. Our faith is an important part of us, but other people may have other issues associated with faith, religion, and spirituality in the form of triggers and traumas. I don't know what another person's been through. So that part about active listening early in the conversation, sometimes it's good just to take a moment to listen to a person. Let them tell you what they're trying to say. Maybe we have an advanced vocabulary because we're a peer and we worked in the peer space for 20 years. It should not be a challenge to our identity to listen to people. It should not be a challenge to our personal identity, our personal whatever, to listen to people. If you've taken on the role as a peer, you've been trained as a peer, if you're looking forward to becoming a peer, look through all of the wonderful things that peers do. And one of those things, whether it's written loudly or not, is listen to other people. If you listen long enough, people will tell you exactly what's going on. Lo and behold, you can be the peer that creates the bridge opportunity to help a person get help. When traditions conflict, you don't have to compromise. You don't. It's not written anywhere. You don't have to change you. However, you can simply be prepared with other resources to introduce someone to. I think it's powerful and honorable as a person, any one of us in this space, if a person comes up to me and says, hey, these are things that have happened to me. If it's something that I feel like might trigger me, it might trauma me, or something that I don't understand, I will pick my phone up and call somebody and try to connect them with somebody else. I won't give them a website. I'll give them a person. That person is usually one of you, one of people who have a peer designation that is ready and willing to talk and connect with people that may be entirely different, might not be in the best space, might not have eaten in a couple of days, might have just gotten out of jail, might be on their way to jail. All these different things that people may have going on that you don't see because you immediately went airplane on the runway instead of taking a split second just to listen to another person. Our role as a peer is to just point to the door. Using our lived experience, just point to the door. Maybe the one that we walk through. I absolutely will share my journey with just about anyone. You don't have to agree with my journey. It's still my journey. I'll share it with you, and maybe a person could take pieces of my journey, pieces of the resiliency that happened with me, pieces of my recovery, whatever words we want to use for that. And maybe they can see something or use a little bit, or maybe they lose none of it. But I feel like I at least did my part as a peer was share when I had the space to do it. Maybe the one we learned about on our journey. Hey, I don't know about y'all, but I've been through some things and I've picked up a lot of stuff along the way, stuff that I may never use. But from an academic perspective, I'm going to take every single bit of that information and intertwine it into a space for behavioral health. which means there may be a sober kickboxing league. There may be a mental health friendly softball league. Know these things. These are things that keep people connected to community and help them get out of a bad spot, help them get the clouds of judgment away, help them belong to something and become part of something that is great. Maybe the one that they discovered and were afraid to walk through. I can speak from experience. The first time somebody asked me to go to a 12-step study, I did not want to go. I was terrified because I'd seen it before and I'd heard about it before. I knew what it was, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it because I didn't feel like I was one of those people. In actuality, I was one of those people. I am part of the recovery community, and I'm proud of all of the people that I've met and been able to hang out with and see and hear their stories. Even if their story is different than mine, give me some popcorn and let's get into it because I want to hear about it. And also to help others fight stigma. Sometimes the resources that people need may not be culturally friendly. They might not be culturally competent. They might not even be nice. But as a peer, we can help other people deal with shame and stigma. We can have those conversations with them about put one foot in front of the other. You don't have a glass half empty or half full. You have a glass. You can do with it what you want to do with it. So just something to know. It's not what happened to someone. It's what happened to someone, not what's wrong with someone. I apologize. My slides are not moving. So it's not, you be careful when we communicate with other people about saying, hey, what's wrong with you? The word wrong indicates that the person is bad or they've done something wrong. Wrong is a word in my childhood. It usually ended up with me getting in trouble. I think I can see, yes, absolutely. So think about that in that space, in that context, and think about what happened to a person, not what's wrong with the person. Symptoms are adaptations to trauma. So sometimes the things that we see and other people see, it's our goal as peers to recognize that thing we see might just be an adaptation to something that's happened to that person. And lastly, healing happens in kind and empathetic relationships. So we're expressing through our work that, hey, there's a process for you to heal. Here's some peer support services. Here's some connections to some resources. We also could exhibit kindness and empathy in that interaction so that if a person has to do something that's uncomfortable, maybe you are the person that helped them get there. Maybe it was your opportunity, your love, your grace, the grace that was given to you that helps a person get to a good place where they're free from bondage. So how do we do all of this? Whoa, be the model peer. Share your personal experiences if you want. Again, I'm a peer that shares my own personal experiences. Sometimes they're uncomfortable for me to share, but I have chosen what I want to share. And when I share that, I usually have a sharing back and forth with a lot of people. I love it. Share personal pain and emotions. Why did you feel that way? Tell people why you felt that way. Talk about it. We have people from different backgrounds, faith, religious, spiritual, secular, all of these different communities benefit when we as peers share our pain and share our emotions. I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm not okay. I'm good with that. I'm comfortable with myself enough to know that when it's time for me to take a time out, for me to do the 4 breaths, the 10 breaths, whatever exercise you use. And remember, all of us have a wealth of experience. You do not have to be in any kind of recovery from addiction. You do not have to have been diagnosed with a mental illness to love someone that's suffering. We all have some experience we can share with other people. One thing that my grandfather used to do with me when I was a kid is he used to ask me to come and work with him on Saturday mornings. He would actually come before cartoon time and have me back by cartoon time. And we usually would go mow somebody's grass, go over to our church, do some outside work on the church so they could get ready for Sunday morning service. I'm thankful for the life in his lifetime that he spent those days with me, because never once did he do anything that would have made me think I couldn't do what he was doing. He made some cool accommodations for me, like a milk crate that he would set in front of a car while we started working on somebody's engine. I wasn't really working on an engine. I was just looking at him, but at least he gave me a step to step up on to be part of the process that he figured out. And these are things that we do. This is the model peer work that we should do. Here, listen to what somebody says. Listening, active listening can be a bridge to a lot of different things. Pay attention to the depth of the share. If you're a peer and a person's sharing their spiritual journey, their religious practice, listen to them and validate them. If you pick this role, this is your job, this is where you're connected or some work that you're doing, again, it is incumbent on you to learn how to listen. Take notes if you can or if you're supposed to. Do things to make sure that a person knows that you're connected with them, and also you can stay better connected. Look for commonality in the share. I had a wonderful shared experience with Emily Moore, who actually invited me to be on here today. She and I talked about jujitsu for probably 10 minutes with two other people that have not done jujitsu, but we found familiarity in commonality in us to where we could have talked for hours about stuff that we do that's not even necessarily work related, but it's good for our mental health and our physical health. Use the commonality in the affirmation. Again, commonality is a big thing. There are more things that connect us than divide us, period. I'll be willing to argue that with anybody. However, I won't argue with you if I don't have to. Simply, let's talk about the commonality and where we connect and figure out how we can better benefit people who need help. Acknowledge, allow everyone to know they are being heard. If you're providing peer-to-peer services and it ain't your day, it might be the day that you call another peer and redirect the person that's come to you. Let people, whether you believe in their tradition, their faith, their spirituality or not, still let them know that you're going to listen to them or that you're going to hear them, or you simply provide a warm handoff to another peer that may be better suited to that back and forth. Remember, as we go through all of this, you may be the only person a person has ever talked to about something that's going on in their life that's controlling them, a life controlling issue. So what do we do as a peer who's taking the mantle of a peer, the role of a peer, and they accepted our adjunct role to counselors and therapists and schools and hospitals? You do your job and you do it well. You don't have to know everything that I know. We could get together and both of us know a lot more because of our friendships. Respect others' thoughts and opinions. Whether you believe it or not, it's their thought and their opinion. Maybe they believe it. Maybe we're both wrong. Maybe we're both right. Really doesn't matter. Providing respect to other people opens up a door for opportunities for people to really connect. Remember that you too will have a turn to express. I know that we as peers love to tell our stories. We love to get out front. We love to share with people, but sometimes we might not be able to do that first, or we might not even be able to do that at all. When we're talking to people who have asked for help or have needed help or have needed just a little bit of easy engagement with someone, maybe someone that's just completely different than their surroundings. Maybe that's a time for us to not wait on a time to express, but just listen and take notes, or listen and love. And then later we can express all of the greatness and the goodness that we have as peers. Reflect. This is one of my favorite parts of the peer model, is reflection. What I heard you say is, so you talked about, everyone mentioned, all of these ways are put back to a person, that you're listening to a person, that you validated the person, and you respect the person. I love when someone says to me, so what I heard you say was, because maybe they didn't hear, maybe I didn't say what I was trying to hear. Maybe I didn't communicate it correctly. Maybe, just maybe, we're using a word that's interchangeable, like the word treatment. In a faith-based setting, the word treatment could mean something entirely different than it means in an evidence-based clinical setting. It doesn't mean that either one of them are wrong. It just means that they're two completely different entities that use the same words to do the things that they do. And you as a peer, we have to know that. We have to know that. Sometimes words are interchangeable. Sometimes cultures are interchangeable. Sometimes they're not. So sometimes we run into cultural issues to where, hey, here's that warm handoff. Let me call one of my partners that can do that. Or I'm going to provide the best services I can as a peer in my space. I want to give that to you because I can. Understand our purpose as peers. What are we doing out here, guys? Purpose. So others overcome their private shame and guilt and seek help. Just those open conversations with people of diverse communities can open the door for people to move away from shame and guilt and seek someone to serve. To encourage more people in the throes of active addiction and crisis to reach out for help. One of the things that's really been good about our faith-based initiatives with the department that I work, the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services in Tennessee, is we actively engage communities of faith, not to tell them how to do anything. That's not our job. What our job was to bring the trainings they needed to strengthen their ministries, to strengthen their outreach in the communities, and then utilize us in any way they need, including for peer support services and educational events. We've done those all around the country for different institutions of faith. Why is it important? Because we have a large majority of people in our country that will reach out to their faith leader for services before they're going to reach out to you. So if you have a partnership with that faith leader's first call might be you, because that faith leader might not necessarily understand the treatment process, or The parishioner might not want to go to a treatment program. They might want to rely solely on their house of faith to give them the opportunity for freedom from whatever life controlling issue they have. To encourage more people means to encourage more people. You have to be the hope and the shining light. And again, I used an absolute again, but in this space, hope is powerful to people who have been faced down on rock bottom for a long time. On a larger scale, we can ultimately shape public perceptions about the problem of addiction and lack of understanding of mental health. Did you know that every single one of you have an opportunity to change the culture of a community by your words and your actions? If you are a peer and you work in a faith-based institution or a faith-based setting, that's an opportunity for you to attach to the ministry programs and tell them, hey, this is who I am. I'm a person with lived experience. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I'm a person, all of the words or the choices that you use is beneficial for those communities. You are at a college, you're at any part of a community that will give you the space to talk, you have the power to shape the public eye on what that looks like. So as I close, I've got a couple of slides left. I want you to all know you are hope dealers. Every single person in this picture, respectfully, I've been given permission from all of these people in different roles to share information about who they are. This is the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives and Project Lifeline out of my department. These are all people that I work with. They're from all sorts of lives and different backgrounds. We get together to become one massive hope dealer year-round, every day, day in and day out. We connect with each other, one, for self-care, but also so we can understand different things that are going on in communities and connect with folks. I love working with people that have lived experience that want to share it, even people who don't want to share it out loud. I still would love an opportunity to partner with you. As a peer, we choose purpose. We choose purpose. As a peer, we choose a vision, and as a peer, we choose a mission. And all of that to be said, the overall goal of all of that stuff in that pigeonhole is to choose freedom or create an opportunity for another person to find their freedom. Freedom from addiction, freedom from bondage, freedom from bad people, freedom from gambling, freedom from eating disorders. There's a lot of different things that people struggle to get away from. But we as a peer understand that, hey, here's some resources. I'm gonna hang out with you. I'll be your friend. I'll talk to you every day. Your job is not to try to make somebody quit anything. It's not to save anybody. Your job is to provide peer support, love people, meet them where they are, and show them what resources are available so they can figure out the process themselves. So how do we do all of this? I'm gonna give you this big round off at the end of these last couple of slides that I wanted to share to make sure we're on the same page. So connection to service delivery. Culturally competent service delivery requires respect. Be the adult in the room. Whether your cultures match or not, you need to know your limitations. So if you're limited by a culture to serve that culture, it might be an opportunity for you to reach out to someone else that works in the same space as you. You have to know your own limitations, and that includes the triggers and things that might upset you. Successful service delivery isn't an exact science. Some people need treatment. Some people need housing. Some people might just need a hug or a kind word for the day to get them to the next day. Again, it's not an exact science. Warm handoffs may be the most powerful peer tool. You do not have to have the answer. Know others who may. Familiarize yourself with all the tools that you can, or at least the ones you're willing to work with. You don't have to know everything. Find the ones that you're good at, you understand, you know how to work with them. Boom. You have an opportunity to share that tool with another person that might be struggling. Remember, how we choose to see people is how we treat them. How we choose to see people is how we treat them. How people see themselves could be directly related to how we treat them. That means how we look at people might push us away from serving them because of an institutional thing that we've learned or some type of bias that we picked up along the road. People are people. Our job is to love and serve people. Lastly, start with self-care. Worry about yourself first. Get you right before you try to get somebody else right. It's a lot of heavy lifting to be done in your own house. Lift yourself up and then work on lifting other people. Ask for help when you need it. Listen, as peers, again, we know a lot of stuff, but we don't have all the answers. Sometimes we need help. We need the opportunity to take a little bit of self-love, self-care, and just relax and do the things you do. I have my own process I take. I love to do martial arts and combat sports. That's part of I know it doesn't sound like self-care, but it's my self-care and my self-love is to continue in that community because it means something to me. Ask others sometimes, even if it's not a peer service, hey, how you doing? That is an opportunity to uplift two people. Maybe it doesn't, but it can. And look for the positive and say it out loud. Tell people that you're proud of them. Tell your family that you're proud of them. Give yourself some positive self-talk and tell you that you're proud of you. We've all had different experiences that have led us to the point to where we're at now. All of those experiences can be worked on and channeled to help other people that may have been broken and beaten by systems their whole life. They may have experienced poverty their whole life, and you have that one single opportunity to love them in that space. I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to share. Here is my email. Please feel free to contact me. I'm actually going to stop my share because we have a few minutes left, and I would love to answer a few questions if anybody has any questions. Thank you all for letting me speak today.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Monty, for that amazing presentation. Everyone, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I will be monitoring them there. And also feel free to put them in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And I see we do have a raised hand. If you do have a question, just go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll read it out loud, or put it in the Q&A.
I see a lot of good comments, Emily, coming through. I'm very thankful. For those of you who have commented, I fully respect. Someone left in the comment section that sometimes their faith doesn't line up with peers, but they never let their lack of faith interfere with their services. That's great. That's the peer model. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And thank you. Continue to do the same things that you. That is totally awesome. Yes, you can have the presentation, and I'll let Emily, I've got a couple of questions. Do you want me to answer them, or do you want to read them?
I was answering the presentation slide question in the chat. Yes, just wanted to let everyone know the presentation slides will be included on our website when we post the recording. And as for the question in the Q&A feature, this question says, I am new to the peer support program. What is a good resource to learn more and get more training?
And that would be depending on what state you're in. Whoever that person is, could you email me and I'll send you the links that are located in the area that you're in. I have a question from Lisa Reagan, Emily, that I'd like to answer, if that's okay.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So Lisa Reagan asks, how do I share the faith journey part of my own recovery story without alienating or offending someone who might not share my faith? That's an absolutely good question. So as a peer, as we share our own personal story, we should make sure that people know that this is my personal journey. This is what I went through to get to where I'm at. And when we realize that sometimes people might not necessarily want to be in that space, that's fine. Our recovery journey doesn't always have to be something that pushes people to the space that they think that they have to heal like you, because they don't. People all have their own resources that they may have access to, listen to their own music and work at their own places. So when we share our stories, one, it'd be cool to be as culturally competent as possible to the person that might be a little different than we are. And also make sure we preface early, hey, my own personal journey took this path. These are the things that I did. How can I help you find your own path? How can I direct you to tools? The power is all in the communication, how you connect with people, and how we all understand that we don't have to be the final answer. We should never think that. We don't have to be the only answer. We shouldn't think that. We could use our story to bridge a gap between feelings and emotions and then direct the person to someone else that can help them. So please be cognizant and aware of the fact that people might not have the same faith tradition that you have. Also be aware that sometimes if you push hard, that person may shake their head yes and never speak to you or another person that's in the recovery space again, because you didn't give them a chance to say how they felt and who they were. So I think that's important, Lisa, and thank you for asking that question.
Thanks, Monty. Do you think you can say your email out loud so that I can type it into the chat for everybody to have access to? Or could you share that slide one more time so that people can jot your email down?
I'm gonna go back to the very first slide. It's big, and I will put that on there. And here we go. All right, let me share my slide again. Can you see it?
Almost. There we go. And James Harper also put it into the chat for everyone to down. Thanks so much, James.
This is amazing. All of the questions and the feedback that I'm getting from everyone. This is awesome. I hope I'm not missing any other questions.
I do have one more question in the Q&A feature right now from another attendee saying, please share a way to get further involved in the criminal justice recovery for individuals.
Absolutely. Will you shoot me an email and let me send you all the things? All of you as a peer are a walking resource. Find whatever niche suits you and then strengthen that niche so you can be that peer that other people might need to refer somebody to get them help. I think that that's great that you want to get in that criminal justice space.
There is another question in the chat as well from Mrs. Valerie saying, can we get the information on the podcast out of West Tennessee that you mentioned in your presentation?
Absolutely. So that is Amy Bechtel, Sarah Mays, and Diane Sherrod. I do not know if any of them are on here, but if you email me or whoever asked that, just shoot me an email and I'll send you their contact information. So they have a podcast called Hope Recover, and then they have a meeting they have weekly. James just shared it. James just shared it in the comment section. So everyone, if you're listening to Friday is the state of Tennessee's Day of Hope. We have events, I think 17 events starting from 7 a.m. and end at about 5 p.m. that are all for people with lived experience. If you check Facebook, the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, these are all free, free for you and free for anybody else that want to log on. I know you may be in a different state. Jump on with us. Peer support is not isolated to state boundaries. Peer support is a global thing. So if it's something that we can give to you or something you hear from us or something that we can get from something we can give back and forth, absolutely. We would love to share that. And I think I'm out of time now, Emily.
All right. Yeah, that's about time. We're about to start our evaluation portion. Before we share the link and close out for the day, Monty, do you have any closing remarks or comments that you'd like to make?
Absolutely. Just so you all know, peers are the most important pivotal piece that ever hit my life. In my own personal journey, someone with lived experience helped me find meetings to help me get myself together to go through some other pieces that I had to see. So you are important. The work you do is important. Also, the differences in you is what makes the peer community strong. We need peers that are not the same. We need as many different folks as we can get to the table so you can be the resource for your community, or you can at least bring other things into your community. And thank you for that. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Monty, for that amazing presentation. Thank you to everyone who asked questions. We've reached the end of our presentation. And as I said in the beginning, our funding does come from SAMHSA and they require us to evaluate our services. So we would really appreciate it if you would all provide your anonymous feedback by clicking on the link that I'm about to share in the chat. There it is. Please follow that link, fill out the anonymous survey. It really helps us in planning future webinars and programs and series like this one. And then, of course, if you need the certificate of attendance for today's presentation, you will be available to download that after you complete the survey. So with that, we're actually going to end a few minutes early. Thank you so much to everyone for attending. Thank you again, Monty, for such an amazing presentation. And that is going to close us out for the day.